First slate of game threes in the books. Let's talk about it. Philly takes a 3-0 lead on Brooklyn. They survive what is probably going to be Philly's best effort this whole series. Behind Tyrese Maxey's 25 points and some late game heroics. Joel Embiid only 14 and 12, but he had the game-saving block. Brooklyn has a lot of really talented guys. Cam Johnson with that slick behind the back move last night, that was pretty cool. Dinwiddie, Bridges is a star. All these guys are good, but they're just playing way out of their roles. They're playing way above their roles. Brooklyn is just out there, basically seeing what type of talent they got going forward. And I don't think anybody's surprised that Philly is up 3-0. Philadelphia just shot the ball better from the field, from three, as a team than Brooklyn did. So, again, probably no surprise there. What was surprising was just how inconsistent the officiating has been in the playoffs this year overall. Even before the contrast that I'm about to bring up, the officiating hasn't been too great. So Draymond Green and Domantas Sabonis have like a thing. Like, Sabonis grabs Draymond's leg. Draymond steps on Sabonis, whether you think he stomped on him or it was accident. I'm not going into that on this video. So that incident happens. Draymond Green gets ejected from the game. Okay, fair enough. Then gets suspended. And Sabonis doesn't even... I think Sabonis received the tech, if I remember correctly. I think he got a technical foul, but he did not... The point that I'm trying to make there is he didn't get... For essentially initiating that sequence with an illegal move, Draymond Green received a worse penalty than him. But okay, like, if that's the precedent you're setting for the playoffs, then fine, stick with it. Then you have Nick Claxton doing the Allen Iverson on Ty Lue. This step, he's stepping over him, and Draymond Green throws a kick at Nick Claxton's dick, or tries to kick his leg out from under him, or Joel Embiid, clearly he throws a kick. That was not even, like, in my opinion, at least with the Draymond Green situation, Draymond had plausible deniability. Like, if he don't take that step, he's probably going to fall over, maybe hurt Sabonis more, maybe he hurts himself. There was not even a question of what the intent of what Joel Embiid was doing. He was mad because Nick Claxton was walking over him because he had just posterized him. And so Joel Embiid doesn't even pick up a foul. If I remember correctly, he didn't even pick up a foul, never mind get ejected from the game or, a suspension, a penalty. So, like, that's weird. I thought that I had seen it all at that point. I was like, okay, the officiating is ridiculous. But no, the officials, they had one more trick up their sleeve. They're gonna eject James Harden for accidentally, I believe it was Royce O'Neal, for accidentally hitting Royce O'Neal in the dick on a step back move. And then they boot James Harden from the game. And I felt like that call was kind of just like, damn, we really missed the Embiid call. Like, the next time something like that happens, like, we just got to put our foot down. Like, and, like, I always feel like shit like that is corny. Like, officiating like that is corny. Like, you can't, that's not the way that you're supposed to, like, ref these games consistently. Like, that's not, like, you can't punish James Harden because you missed the call on Joel Embiid so, like, flagrantly, and now essentially you're just like, I don't want to say they're embarrassed, but, like, they want people to feel like, like, oh, we're still making calls, like, we're engaged, we're paying attention to what's going on the floor. And it's like, that ejection on James Harden was just so bogus and so clearly like a makeup call for missing the kick on that Joel Embiid threw up into Nick Claxton's groin area. It's just that and I understand that these referees they're human, obviously. Like, they're gonna make mistakes. That's fine. As as a fan of the league, as a watcher of the league, and I'm sure any player would agree with me in this sentiment. We just want some type of attempt at consistency. We understand that, like, you're not gonna get it right every single time. Y'all are human. Like I just said, y'all are human. Mistakes are gonna happen. Calls are gonna get missed. It is what it is. But I feel like as long as these officials are just showing like we're trying to be consistent, like we might miss some calls, we might blow some calls completely, but we're trying to be consistent. But it just seems like there's no consistency, and like this is akin to like kind of what the NFL was doing. I mean, it's much less worse, but in terms of severity, but this kind of reminds me of like the NFL a couple years ago. With their like string of domestic violence incidences where it was like they just couldn't get their punishments like right, like maybe not right, but they couldn't get them consistent. Like one guy would have an incident, quote unquote, and the NFL would just straight up like ban him for like 6 games, and then this other guy, like, he'd be on film like punching somebody or, just assaulting somebody, and there was like pause. It was like the NFL didn't know like what it was doing. There was no consistency. Like, this is kind of what the NBA is doing in terms of like these referee crews. Like, these referee crews, they need to get together and like have a meeting and decide like, okay, how are we gonna ref these playoffs? What are we gonna what are we gonna show some leniency to? What are we gonna really, really crack down on? How does the context of the situation affect our decisions with these matters? Like, I just, I wish that, and I really would like to think that like these referees, like they do that, like they sit down and they're like, they discuss how they're going to ref the playoffs, but I really feel like they don't. And if they are doing this, it's clearly like they're not on the same page at all, because there's no reason. If Draymond Green is gonna, if he's gonna get, ejected, suspended in the playoffs, like for an incident where, in my opinion, he had plausible deniability, like, hey, I did not mean to step on him. I was just trying to regain my balance from Domantas Sabonis, like, pulling an illegal move on me. Like, Joel Embiid has no deniability. He has no plausible deniability for what he was trying to do right there. And for him to not even, like, maybe the league will take a look at it after the fact. Maybe we'll get, like, something later in the day that's like, oh, Joel Embiid suspended, whatever. But in that moment, for him to not even like get like any type of disciplinary action just blows my mind. Like, that was just crazy to me. That really sent me. I went to the bathroom for literally like 30 seconds. I came back, and then James Harden was ejected and Nick Claxton got ejected too. Like, I just, again, we just want consistency. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like that's all we're asking for. That's all the players are asking for. That's all the watchers are asking for. It's just an attempt, not even guaranteed consistency. Like, just an attempt at it. We just want to believe that you have some type of rhyme or reason with how you're going to ref these games, because it just feels like every single game, not even every single series, it feels like every single game of every single series, like, the referees are just reffing off vibes. Like, there's no, besides like general adherence to like the rule book, there's no like plan on like how we're gonna we're gonna let these guys play tonight, or like, we're gonna really be watching for contact and stuff. And like, it just feels like the referees are just like going in there and they're just like, meh, like, I guess that was a foul. Like, it looked kind of like they're just reffing off vibes. Like, there's no plan. There's no, I don't know. And again, like, these refs they are human, and it's fine for them to mess up. Like, they're just gonna miss calls sometimes. It just is what it is. But as long as you're showing us, the watchers, and even more so the athletes on the floor, an attempt at consistency, I don't think anybody can really be mad. But that is clearly what's not happening, in this postseason. There's just no attempt at consistency. There's just no attempt at having a rhyme or reason. Like, these referees is basically just reffing these games off vibes, is what it feels like. It just feels like the Wild West of officiating. Like, people are just like, yeah, just whatever. He did throw a kick, but it's all right. Like, he didn't get hurt. Like, so I don't know. I just, that was my biggest takeaway from the Brooklyn game, even more so than like the game itself, even though it was like, a pretty close, entertaining game. That was my biggest takeaway. It was just like the officiating this postseason has just been like really blatantly bad. And even, when you look at the Phoenix Clipper game, which the officiating in that game wasn't too terrible. Russell Westbrook should have been teed up for literally screaming in a ref's face, and he wasn't. But again, that just kind of lends itself to my point. Like, the officiating has been inconsistent, like super inconsistent. Like, I don't even know what. Like, I don't, like, if somebody tried to tell you, like, if somebody tried to ask me, like, what do you think the tone is of this? Like, what are the refs going for? I wouldn't have an answer. I'd just be like, I don't know. Like, some games they want to let them play. And some games you get crazy ticky-tack fouls called and like big moments. Like, it's just some games officials literally will just let guys kick each other. Other games, guys don't get in trouble for grabbing each other's legs, preventing them from going down court. Like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're professional. The NBA is obviously the biggest basketball league on the planet. These refs are professionals. You need to come out organized. And the NBA and these referees, they just don't look. I think it's so funny how they started like announcing, like the commentators are like now announcing like the refereeing crews and like their years of experience, and they're going like way more in depth with it, and it just seems like, I don't know, not doing what the NBA, like, it doesn't have the intended effect that the NBA I know wants that to have. It feels like, at least, like, so yeah, I don't know. I want consistency, an attempt at consistency as a watcher. And again, I'm sure the players would agree with me. We just want consistency. An attempt at consistency. I don't think that's too much to ask from the biggest basketball association on the planet. With, some of these refs have been refereeing for decades. Like, I don't think it's that much to ask. Just want the officiating to be better. Shout out to Fred VanVleet. Speaking of the Phoenix Clippers game, that low-key was probably, game one, Golden State versus Sacramento, was pretty entertaining. But I would say, like, that game, game three of the Phoenix LA series, is definitely giving game one Sacramento Golden State a run for its money. Russell Westbrook started off struggling really early, a lot of turnovers in the first quarter. And then the Clippers did like the only thing that Russ knows how to do, and they just let him do it. And I thought that, I don't know why they ever got away from it. But when Russ is allowed to just like grab a rebound and just shoot off, or like get an outlet pass from, the big or whoever grabbed the rebound and just attack in transition. Like that's where a lot of good things happen for Russell Westbrook. And like obviously sometimes because he's inefficient by nature, he still, even on those possessions, he still fucks up. He still turns the ball over. He still misses a layup. He'll still trip and fall. Like, but I think that, obviously because the Clippers, there was no Paul George. There was no Kawhi last night. I don't know. I mean, if you're Kawhi Leonard, look, I'm not here to question anybody's pain tolerance, whatever. I'm not these athletes. Like, I guess you got to take care of yourself. But it's like, I don't know. We're in a postseason, man. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to harp too much on that. But, yeah, Russ was doing a very good job when they let him get in space or just take it off the glass and just shoot the other way. And I don't know why they went away from that. They should have just let Russell Westbrook do what he was doing, especially when they had that small ball lineup towards the end of the game. I thought that was like, they were essentially just Ty Lue was essentially just trying to do like what the Rockets were doing in the bubble, in the bubble season, like, and in the playoffs. They should have put Nick Batum out there though. Like the micro ball lineup was working, the nano ball, whatever they were calling it. It was working. Like, I mean, Russ is Russ, so I mean, you're not totally lost on the glass when you have a small ball lineup because Russ is a pretty good rebounder for a point guard. I just feel like if they had Nick Batum in instead of say like Bones, because like Bones Highland and Trey and Terrence Mann, they do like the same thing, not like, obviously they have like different ways that they do it, but like essentially they're out there to accomplish the same thing. And like, I'm not saying they can never be on the floor together. Like obviously having two scorers on the floor is like, there's obviously, moments like that in game that you're going to need that. But I feel like with that lineup, if they took Bones or Terrence, I'm saying they should have took Bones out, but I mean, if you like Bones over Terrence Mann, they should have put Nick Batum in. Because at 6'8", I feel like Nick Batum, like that's still technically a small ball lineup, but Nick Batum has size, and he could have helped Russ challenge a lot of those rebounds, and challenge Devin Booker at the rim too. Because when they was running that small ball lineup, Booker could do whatever you want. He was getting to the rim at will. He was just blowing by the defender and throwing floaters. He was getting to the rim. He was doing whatever he wanted. There was no deterrent for Devin Booker at the rim. But I feel like if you put Nick Batum in there, Nick Batum is, he's not like, obviously he's not a traditional big, but he's somebody who is tall. He's 6'8". He can stretch the floor. He's just a smart basketball player on both sides of the ball. So I feel like that small ball lineup wasn't a bad idea. That tweak of putting Nick Batum in for like either subbing out Mann or Highland for Batum, I feel like would have been like, I feel like if they had done that, I feel like they would have genuinely been able to like win the game, like win a lot of possessions going down the stretch of that game and potentially win the game off, that lineup's play that late in the game. If you're the Suns though, and you have DeAndre Ayton on the floor, when they don't have a center on the floor, like you need to be giving the ball to DeAndre Ayton. Because DeAndre Ayton did not really play that well. He didn't play like terrible. He was 12 and 11, I believe. He wasn't like, he's not like killing his own team. He's not like, it's not like they're bleeding when he's on the floor, but you got to get DeAndre Ayton more touches in situations like that. When Ty Lue, when you have DeAndre Ayton and the other coach puts a lineup on the floor with no bigs, nobody even over like 6'5", like you need to give the ball to DeAndre Ayton and just let him go to work. Like and the Suns still ended up winning the game, so they didn't really get punished for it, I guess, like that much. But I feel like if they had like a superstar, like if they had one of their superstars, never mind both of their superstars, in a small ball lineup situation, and you're not punishing their lack of size, like I don't know. I think, and maybe it's just my bias against bigs, or for bigs. Maybe it's my bias for bigs, but I just think that the Suns lost an opportunity to, and again, they won, so they weren't punished for it. They didn't really lose any opportunity, but if the Suns had ended up losing that game, and they really almost did, like they almost did, I think that that's something that, the Suns would go back to and be like, damn, we should have just let DeAndre Ayton just, do his work down low. He's got all these little guys like riding on his back and stuff. You just got to let you just got to get a ball to DeAndre Ayton there, do a drop step, and then he just kicks when help comes. Part of that though, like part of so like that's a thing. Like, Phoenix has to like they have to get DeAndre Ayton involved, but also like DeAndre Ayton has to play better against Zubac. Like he has to do better against Zubac. Like there's no reason why you and Zubac should be essentially having the same impact on the game. Like a couple of years ago, we was talking about DeAndre Ayton like he was like a top 3 big in the game, top 5 big in the game. We was talking about him like he was a top 25 dude in the game. Like there's no reason why Zubac should be, I guess not necessarily outplaying you consistently, but there's like Ayton and Zubac have been they've had the same impact on this series, in my opinion. You could even argue maybe Ayton has had less of an impact on his team success than Zubac has had on his team's success. Like, it's kind of like, it's not really the entire fault of one or the other party. Like, the Suns need to start getting DeAndre Ayton more involved, but definitely Ayton needs to just like play better. He needs to just come out and just dominate. No, Zubac is not supposed to be as good as you. We're all operating under the assumption going into this series that like you're better than Zubac. And y'all have been, essentially it's been a stalemate. Zubac has been playing you to a stalemate. So it's like I want to see more from DeAndre Ayton. Like I said, part of that is him. The other part of that is that the Suns just got to like do things to get him involved. And when there's matchups that DeAndre Ayton can exploit for, the benefit of the team, they should be giving DeAndre Ayton the ball and letting him, exploit those mismatches, letting him exploit those matchups. Like, again, the Suns won because Devin Booker had, 45, something like that. And KD had like 27, 5, and 8. Or whatever, like, KD and Devin Booker are KD and Devin Booker. It's hard to lose, a playoff game when you have Devin Booker and KD both scoring and playing like that. Devin Booker, he's been great on the defensive side of the ball, KD is a pretty solid defender as well, even at this stage in his career. But yeah, you just like, when you have like a size matchup like that in this day and age in the NBA, like you just have to exploit that. You can't just, they don't have a center on the floor and then you just don't take advantage of that. Like you have DeAndre Ayton. They don't have a center on the floor. Give the ball to DeAndre Ayton. That's like, again, we were all under the assumption that he was a top 25, 35 player in the league. We're all under the assumption that he's like one of the best bigs in the league. And it's like, we haven't really seen it yet. We haven't really seen DeAndre Ayton like explode like he was supposed to when he came into the league. And I mean, like I said, he hasn't been playing terrible. It's not like he's been playing like bad, like he's been solid, but he definitely has not been playing like to not up to par, because he has been playing up to par, but he hasn't like taken the jump into like, oh, he's a de facto superstar. Like he's definitely the second best player on the championship team. He's definitely the best player on the championship team. Like he hasn't taken that step yet. I don't want to turn this into like an off-season speculation video either, but I feel like the Suns are probably going to move Ayton in the off-season for some depth, and they're probably just going to run this thing behind Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and KD, and just a bunch of 3-and-D guys. I mean, because Biyombo is not, obviously, I mean, he's a terrible free throw shooter. You can't have him on the court like late in games. So that'll be something to account for when you go into the summer if you're Phoenix and you tweak this roster. I don't know if they would want Bismack Biyombo like being the starting center, but Biyombo's not like a terrible, like he's a great permanent guy. He's been pretty good on defense in this series. So yeah, like I mean, I don't know. That situation is just that it really bothered me seeing the Clippers go small ball and the Suns just not give the ball to they were just not giving the ball to DeAndre and like once again they didn't lose, so they didn't get punished for it technically, I guess, like, but it bothers me when bigs don't get, like, that's a clear mismatch. 15 years ago, and I understand like the NBA's changed, it's evolved or whatever, but it's just like not even necessarily that specific mismatch. Like not even like there's a big versus small ball. Like 15 years ago, if there was any type of exploitable matchup like that, it's just like we're taking advantage of that. Like I don't understand why the Suns weren't just like, there's nobody on the court that's taller than 6'5". I mean, there's nobody on the court that's taller than 6'6". Like, just give the ball to DeAndre Ayton, and like, he goes to the line, he kicks hot, or he just scores 2 points. Like, I don't know. That bothered me. The Suns still pick up the win. That series is 2-1. Kawhi Leonard is day to day, so I guess we'll just have to see what Kawhi is planning to do. This is a pretty curious time for Kawhi Leonard to just be deciding that he's going to take games off. But, I mean, it's his body, and he's got to take care of himself. And finally, the Golden State Sacramento game. This was like my most anticipated game. Warriors basically with a wire-to-wire victory against Sacramento. I mean, I don't understand how anybody... I guess I can't say I don't understand. Like, especially if you're a Kings fan and you just, like, love your team. Like, I can see how, like, you would have thought you're going to beat Golden State. Like, they didn't have Draymond. But I feel like there was way too much of an overreaction. People on this website were, I saw videos like, oh, the Warriors are in trouble. Like, even after the Draymond suspension, I anticipated the Warriors were going to win this game. They're not. If it was any other team, like I said on my last video about Golden State and Sacramento, if it was any other team, I could see why people would be so pressed. I mean, you are 2-0, and I mean, this team is really good, and now you literally have to win a game at home. Like, again, I could see you're missing one of your key pieces. I could see why people would be worried, but like, these dudes ain't regular, man. Golden State is not. These dudes don't play around, and they're not regular. And I mean, we're talking about Steph Curry, we're talking about Klay Thompson, we're talking about Andrew Wiggins. Like, these dudes just aren't regular. This is not a regular basketball program. And like, if there was any team that was gonna come out of this situation as the winners, it's hard to pick anybody else except, it's hard to pick anybody else except Golden State, as the team that would come out of this situation with the W. Kevon Looney had 20 rebounds. The Warriors killed the Kings on the glass. I think at one point, probably halfway through the fourth quarter, the Kings had 21 second chance points on 19 offensive rebounds or some crazy stat like that. Again, Kevon Looney with 20 rebounds. Talking about holding down the fort. No Draymond Green, no problem. The Warriors played great in the paint. They did a lot of their damage actually shooting threes last night. They were very, very efficient from three. Even with Jordan Poole kind of struggling a little bit, but he played a little better. But yeah, Golden State was great in the paint. Whenever they went into the paint, they got exactly what they wanted on offense. Their attack mostly came from three, and then even on defense, they were great at in the paint, defending the paint. That's what I was trying to say. The Warriors were great at defending the paint. Kevon Looney, again, he was so good last night. He played so well. It's just when you have a dude like Kevon Looney as like, just like, you're probably not gonna lose a home game. Like when Kevon Looney is giving you 20 rebounds, like, when you have 21 second chance points in the game, like, you're probably not gonna lose that game, especially when the Kings don't shoot at the same pace as you. Like, the Kings were very inefficient yesterday. Keegan Murray had playoff knees, obviously. De'Aaron Fox wasn't super efficient like he was in game one. And I mean, Domantas Sabonis played. He was okay. He had a double-double. I think he had like 15 and 12 or 16 and 12. But my point about Sabonis that I made at the end of game one still stands. Like, he cannot consistently make long twos or make threes. So it's just like, whenever Domantas Sabonis like touches the ball, you really don't have to engage with him until he's like 10 feet from the basket. You don't really have to, like, if he just wants it, if Sabonis is just randomly gonna become like a 39% 3-point shooter, or if he's just gonna start hitting like 48% of his long twos, then like, more power to him. But until he does it, like, I don't care about Domantas Sabonis unless he's like 12 feet in from the basket. Other than that, I don't give a fuck about Domantas Sabonis. He's not able to really stretch the floor. He's not able to stretch the Warriors defense out. And that creates problems for De'Aaron Fox, because, I mean, De'Aaron Fox is obviously the fantastic player, but De'Aaron Fox is like an inside-out guy. He likes to get going, from the inside out. He would much rather get going, 3 layups and then attempt his first 3. He would much rather start from the inside and then go out. But you can't really do that if the lane's clogged, because Sabonis can't stretch the floor because he's not effective anywhere besides 12 feet and in from the basket. And even when he does have a game like this, where he does have like a pretty respectable double-double in terms of on the stat sheet, like, he didn't really impact the game. He did not impact the Kings' chances of winning in like significant, in a positive way, significantly. I mean, if Domantas Sabonis wants to average 16 and 12 for the rest of the series, like, cool, bro. I mean, hit your jump hooks, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you can't. You're not creating disruptions schematically. Like, you're not creating much of an issue for us. And it's like, we feel like Looney by himself is like good enough to, like, we're not saying Looney's going to completely erase you from the stat sheet, but we feel like Looney can keep your impact to a minimum. And then when Draymond comes back, when they get Draymond back, like, we definitely feel like Looney and Draymond can, make you like a non-factor, essentially. Like, on offense, it's essentially 4-on-5 because you can't stretch us out. You can't stretch our defense. So, again, I just feel like a lot of the stuff that I was saying early in the series is kind of like, you're seeing a lot of it materialize and like come to fruition. And I think that, I'm picking Golden State to win. They'll win their next game too. And I think Golden State is going to take the next game in Sacramento. They're going to take, the momentum of winning the 2 home games. The series will be tied 2-2, and they're going to go on the road. They just got to win one game. Like, I know Golden State has been like a piss-poor road team this year. They've been so bad. But, again, if it was any other team, I wouldn't be saying this. But it's Golden State, the dynasty, 4-time champions. They've got the greatest shooting backcourt ever. They have, like, some of the championship pedigree is just there. If they just need one game, they just need to win one game in Sacramento. That's it. And I think they can do that. I think if you're asking a dynasty, 4-time champions, the greatest shooting backcourt ever, can you win one game? Can you beat these guys one time on the road? Can you go to Sacramento and beat these dudes one time? I mean, I think Steph and Clay can give you one win on the road. They can give you one road win in Sacramento. That's all they need. All they need is just a ball to bounce their way one time. And, the rest of the series is probably going to be history in favor of Golden State. The Kings they were not playing well yesterday. They really didn't shoot the ball well as a team. And I don't know. I don't understand why anybody thought that. Again, I don't want to say I don't understand because that's kind of like, I don't want to be flippant, but like, it's Golden State. Let's show these guys some respect. They're 4-time NBA champions. It's the greatest shooting backcourt ever. Draymond Green is one of the greatest defenders ever. Steve Kerr ain't stupid. He's probably one of the most intelligent coaches that we've ever seen in terms of, like roster construction, utilizing guys' strengths. Like, let's show these guys some respect, People ready to write Golden State off because they went down 2-0. Because Draymond got suspended. Now the sky is falling. Golden State's world is over. It's like, come on, man. Golden State's annoying too. They're annoying to me too. Their fan base is annoying to me too. But we gotta show these dudes some respect, especially when they earn it. We definitely gotta show these dudes some respect. That's all I really have to say about the first slate of Game 3s. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. Or if you disagree with me, don't forget to comment and tell me why you disagree with me. I really encourage discussion and debates in the comment section. I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of these 3 games? Again, thank you very much for listening to the video. I appreciate y'all taking time out of your day to just listen to me talk about this. Like, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.